Welcome back to His and Hers Movie Podcast. This is episode number 43, featuring a review of the brand new 2020 Brian Bertino directed horror film, The Dark and the Wicked. I am one half of your host, JP, podcasting out of southwestern Pennsylvania, and joining me tonight on this Thanksgiving Eve, that is November 25th, is Carly from Southwest PA as well. How are you doing tonight?
I am alright. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, buddy. Yes, we are back, and yeah, it's technically Thanksgiving now because it's like midnight 30. But
right. I said the 25th, but it's technically the 26th right now.
Indeed it is, buddy. And it's like, so it's less than a month till Christmas. So, what have you done this week?
Well, buddy, funny you should ask. So, man, I had an interesting experience today. So today I was checking in, a person came to the hotel, and yeah, dude, I'll just kind of be brief, I won't go into detail, but something that he wanted we couldn't do, and he was like really mad about it, and he starts MF-ing me all over the place, and it was just laughable because this guy looked like Yosemite Sam with gray hair instead of red.
Oh no.
Yeah, he looked like Yosemite Sam with white hair, and it was like I had to hold back laughing. Like normally when somebody's yelling at me and cussing at me and stuff, I'm a little taken back and like, you know, maybe a little nervous that this is, you know, because I'm dealing with an altercation. But like in this situation, I literally was just trying to not laugh because in my own head, I'm like, I would like smoke this guy. Like I would just lay him out so quick. And like he was shorter than me. You know, I'm pretty small.
Oh no. Yeah,
and,
you're alone.
I'm just like laughing. He like walks out. He's like, fine, I'm going to go to another motel. And I was thinking in my head, like, we're not even a motel. And then he's like, you know, I'm telling your boss that you refused $100 and stuff like that. And I'm thinking like, well, first of all, it was 80 because you argued with me that you couldn't pay more than 80. So, you know, but it was like really funny. I couldn't help but like bust out laughing when he walked out the door. And then he came back like 2 minutes later and was like, fine.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I don't like to talk about specifics too much, you know, on a show. But
right.
The thing that he was mad about was so small and stupid, and like it was just policy, and he was just like making a huge deal out of it, and like, I've never been treated like this. And I'm just like, ooh, my God, man. Like, some people, dude, like, I don't know. I just don't act like that ever, you know what I mean? I'm just not that type of guy to, like, feel so entitled.
Yeah, it's funny how they always come back, too. Like, if I flipped out on an employee, like, I don't ever want to come back again. And then they just go out to their car, and they're like, all right, I guess there's no other motels around here. And then walk back in. Like, that's funny. It's stupid. People are stupid. So,
besides that, this week I've actually been, okay, I was a podcast junkie at one point in my life. I listened to 4 or 5 podcasts a day back in when I was working at the old place. And, you know, not even back when I was working at the old place, but when I was working at that place and doing the position that I was before my last position, so a while ago. And also when I went to the gym, I still listened heavily, but lately I haven't been listening at all. Like, I've basically listened to like 1 or 2 shows a month, and it's kind of sad because listening to podcasts was such a big hobby of mine, but I never liked doing it. For some reason, I don't like doing it driving, which is when most people do it. I would rather listen to music or like an audiobook or sports radio usually. But man, I mean, I used to listen to so much podcasts like other ways. Usually when I'm multitasking, either when I'm playing a game or when I'm at the gym or when I'm working. Those were my 3 favorite places to listen to podcasts. Mainly when I was working because I felt like I was getting paid to do something I liked.
Yes.
And there was at one point I would listen to, like I said, 4 or 5 shows a day sometimes. Like, you know, I mean, some of the longer shows, I would listen to like a 4-hour Exploding Heads in one day, you know, and another show usually. But over the past couple months, maybe even year, maybe even longer, my listening has dropped so significantly. And it's kind of sad. I kind of miss it a little bit. So I started listening to some podcasts again. And mainly because I got the new Call of Duty and I've been playing the Zombies mode a lot. I really love that mode and it's so much fun. It's easy to play and stuff. So that's probably what I'm going to do after we're done here. Even though I should be watching movies.
Watch the move.
But I'm probably going to play Zombies and listen to podcasts. And I've been binging 2 shows really right now. And I just wanted to talk about them real quick because it's one of my favorite shows right now. And the one show is called Horror Movie Weekly. And now this show is ran by Jay of the Dead, who I've always really liked. I mean, he's been around in the podcast circle for years. He's influenced people like Watson and honestly me, even though I never really said it. But I've always liked him. He has this very smooth, nice voice that I always find appealing. He's always, you know, it's almost like it. He's given 22 Shots a shout out before, after I reached out to him and told him that I really dug his show and stuff like that, and I was a podcaster too. This was like years and years ago, and I'm almost like embarrassed to even let people know that I'm on 22 Shots. Not because I'm ashamed of it, because I am very, very proud of it. It's just, it's so not PC, and like we say, like, I mean, I don't really say that much, but Jeremy is kind of a foul-mouthed little guy, and Moods every once in a while says something not too flavorful. So it's, and whenever you're talking to people who are like much more professional, it makes me like even though my show is you know big as their show, or like, you know, around the size, like we're pretty established and have an established audience, and even make, you know, some money off the show. So you know, I'm not like some like nobody or anything, but it's like I feel embarrassed. Not necessarily embarrassed, because I'm not embarrassed about anything, but I'm like worried that like his audience, like when he gave me that shout out a long time ago, I was like, oh, I didn't really want that, because you know, I assume his audience is a bit more of the intellectual type,
right.
And they hear Jeremy dropping the F word, the non 4-letter one, and you know, I don't know. It throws me off. But anyway, I don't know why I went into that tangent. But he's always been like this really professional podcaster, and I've always liked his shows. And I know of his shows because it was the second podcast I ever heard was like called like all his names are like the same. Like I just said, this one's called Horror Movie Weekly. Another one was like Weekly Horror Movie Podcast and Horror Podcast Week, you know, all these different variations of that. So I never know which one I'm talking about, but the very, very old one in like 2011, I started listening to that show, and he had a co-host on there named Bill Chete. And even back then, dude, I thought this guy was ridiculous with his opinions. Like I completely would disagree, like, all the time with him, like, so much, and it was hilarious. And so Jay of the Dead was on one show called, like, Horror Movie Podcast or something, and it's a really good show. It's been around for probably a little longer than 22 Shots. and it was a really good show. I loved it, and it's so funny. You know how like we have this community of like me, you, Exploding Heads, Moods, Derek,
yes.
like all them. Well,
Yep.
those guys have their own community. It's like Greg Mortis from Land of the Creeps and Dr. Shock from Land of the Creeps and Horror Movie Podcast and Jay the Dead and Bill Chete and Lady Phantom and Haddonfield Hatchet and all these people. So they have like their own circle of podcasts and stuff. It's like weird because there's like these different communities out there.
Yeah, like different lunch tables.
Right. And the reason I brought them up is because I was listening to an episode and they shouted out Dave Z and Watson. And they were, Watson and Dave Z did a show with Jay. And Jay has a few podcasts. He has Horror Movie Weekly and he has, what do you call it? Considering the Cinema. And I think Considering the Sequels. All of his shows, all of his shows have like very simple names, but they're I like his reasoning. You know, they're to the point. It's like it is what it is. But I'm not gonna lie, search optimization. If you have a podcast called Horror Movie Podcast, I mean, come on, search optimization. You type, what does people Google? Horror Movie Podcast, right? Like they're looking for a horror movie podcast. Boom, that one's gonna come up. But anyway, so I was listening to them, and I started thinking back to like why I got into podcasting and why I started listening to podcasting, and it was because of a lot of those guys. Like I remember hearing, Jay and Bill Chete's show and Land of the Creeps and a show that I loved that is now defunct, but it was called Terror Troop. And Terror Troop had a guy named Boss Butcher on there, and I actually podcasted with him before. I had a short-lived solo cast. It wasn't a solo cast, but it was a spin-off cast from 22 Shots called A Double Shot. And I had Boss on as a guest one time, and it was really awesome. It was like one of the first, podcasters that I didn't know that I worked with. And I was thinking about all these shows that I used to listen to while listening to Horror Movie Weekly, and it just brought back so much like flooding memories of nostalgia and made me really into podcasting for a minute there, where I was just like, dude, I need to like podcast. And I was like, wait, I do. And I was like looking forward to like the shows I had coming up and stuff, and I was like really wanting to listen to shows again. I started thinking about how many shows there are, and it's just crazy now that like even if you wanted to listen to everybody's show, there's no way you could.
Yeah.
So Horror Movie Weekly, after Jay left Horror Movie Podcast, or one of those iterations of that show's still going with I think the other crew, and then one other guy came on. I can't remember his name, but it's funny. One of the guys on there I've talked to like once or twice. Is it Wolfman Josh? I can't remember what his name is. I haven't listened to that show in a long time either, and I really used to love that show. But he's actually a Survivor fan.
Ooh.
And you know that I'm a huge Survivor fan, so that I used to like follow him, tweet and stuff about Survivor and stuff, and I was like, that's dope. But I think that Dr. Shock's on that show too. He's another really, really good podcaster. And so I was listening. I'm listening to his Jay the Dead shows and Bill Chete and stuff. And when Jay left that show, he started Horror Movie Weekly. So I knew about it. I think Watson had told me that Jay was doing that, because I think I was telling him how I stopped listening to Horror Movie Podcast or whatever the hell it's called after Jay left, and because he was always my favorite. And then it's not that I thought the show was worse or anything. It was just different. And then I was just happened to get involved in life and different things happening. You know, I had a weird last year and stuff, so I just kind of stopped going to the gym, stopped, you know, because they all closed down with COVID and stuff, and just stopped listening to podcasts. So it was like partially because Jay left and partially because it was just, you know, not something I was doing at the time. I was listening to shows, but I'm going to go back to that one too. Anyway, so he left that show, and Watson told me, yeah, Jay started another show with Bill Chete, and I was like, wait, Bill Chete's back? Because even though I told you I disagree with Bill Chete more than like any other human usually, I still find him to be one of the most interesting and fun to listen to podcasters out there. And that's the beauty of criticism, is and actual people like me and the people that I do shows with and stuff, and you, like, I don't care if somebody doesn't like a movie. I just want to hear why, and if they can articulate it and articulate and explain why they don't like a movie, even if I disagree and think that their reasons might be BS, I still love to hear a good, funny, or, you know, well thought out reason why they don't like something. And he just cracks me up, dude. Like, I'll be listening, and you don't know how many times they'll announce the next movie, and I'll be like, oh, Bill Chete's gonna hate this, and then he'll like it. Or I'll be like, Bill Chete's gonna love this one, and then he doesn't like it. You know, like, I think it was a Terrifier. Like, I expected Bill Chete to love that movie. He didn't. He picked Tusk. I expected him to hate it. He loved it. He picked Leprechaun Returns. I expected him to hate it, and he loved it. And I was like, what the hell? Because I can never gauge that guy, but it's so fun to listen to. And I just have been having a blast. I've been blasting through their backlog. Because I started listening when the gyms were still open back in, like, February and early March. And I think they were pretty fresh. They weren't too many episodes in, I don't think. And then I think I was current. And then I pretty much fell off since then. I've been catching up now. I think I'm in like July or something in their releases. So I've been catching up on that show. Absolutely loving it. It's a very fun show. They do one movie. I was telling you about it because I wanted to turn you on to listening to it. They do one movie, and it's in the last 5 years. So it's a pretty fun format. So the cool thing about that is I'm hearing them review movies that I've watched for the most part, you know. And then they do a lot of 2020 stuff too, which a lot of them are ones that I watched or ones that I'm thinking about watching. So it's helping me with my 2020 prep as well. If they mention a good movie, then I'm going to check it out. But it's a really good show. I've been heavily listening to it, and the coolest thing happened. They basically, in, I don't know, a couple months ago, like August or something, on one of the episodes, Bill Chete announced that him and I believe his girlfriend or wife, Lady Phantom, who's the other host, started a new show. So they started a show called Movies in 4K. And this is a podcast that is entirely 4K. They're only reviewing 4K. And they're not just, you know, reviewing the movie, but they're also reviewing the 4K disc, and they're telling you, is it worth the extra $5 or $10 you would spend to upgrade a 4K, upgrade from the Blu-ray or DVD to the 4K disc. And you know me, I recently upgraded to 4K maybe a year ago or something. So this is like a really cool, interesting podcast that nobody else is doing. I don't think anybody else is doing a podcast like that right now. So yeah. I've been going back and forth. I've been listening to like 2 episodes of Horror Movie Weekly and then 2 episodes of Movies in 4K. And it's been awesome. That show's really fun too. And it's a little bit more technical. They're talking a little bit more about the technical aspect of the picture quality and the audio quality, and you know, if the film pops off the TV, you know, like 4K does and stuff. So that's been fun, and they're covering all movies. So it's not just horror, which is interesting because I only buy horror films until I got 4K, and now I buy pretty much any 4K that I'm interested in. And I do have a handful of non-horror titles, so it's been fun to hear what they talk about and what discs are worth getting and what discs aren't worth getting. As a 4K consumer myself, it helps out. So that show's really fun too. But basically, I guess I just unintentionally gave a shout out to these guys. I guess I'll put the links to their podcast in the description down below. You can check out either of those shows, Movies in 4K and Horror Movie Weekly, on like all the podcast apps and stuff. Like, I listen on Spotify, so they're on Spotify. And if you're on Spotify, you're probably on all the major ones. I think they are. But yeah, buddy, I think you should check out that show. Well, maybe not Movies in 4K. I mean, you can check it out because they still do review the movie, and maybe you could be interested in the horror ones. But Horror Movie Weekly is a super fun show, and it's one of my favorite podcasts right now. I've liked these podcast hosts for almost a decade at this point. 2011 was when I first heard of them, and I've followed the various different things they've done, both loosely and closely throughout the years. And honestly, I haven't had many interactions with them, but I will say I did leave them a badly written, because you know me, I'm horrible at writing things.
Yes.
Comment over on BillShetty.com telling them how much I like the 4K podcast and how I got involved listening to them and stuff like that. So that is, you know, it was I've read back and I was like, I sound like such an idiot. I'm bad with punctuation. I'm like, you know.
Should have let me proofread it, little bit.
I should have. And I did it on my phone, so it was like, you know, small screen, and I'm just like...
You probably used the wrong your a whole bunch.
I didn't use the wrong your.
You never have used the right your ever.
At least I don't say You are.
You. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's stupid.
Yeah, I hate when people use that one, but...
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, if any of the listeners out there want a different show to listen to, definitely check out those two shows. If you're only interested in the horror stuff, Horror Movie Weekly is perfect. They get into they get into some battles on those shows, dude, and it's hilarious because that's something that I've always been into. Like I mean, you know, I come at you twisted all the time.
Yeah, like a bitch kid.
Yeah, and I come at you and I'm like, why, how could you give it that? Or like, why do you like that? And you're like, you know, I fluster you. And I've always done that. No, I hold my own. And maybe the reason I've done that all the time is because of the battles they used to have on all their shows. So maybe subconsciously that influenced me into having those sort of opinions where you listen to some podcasts and they don't want to like disagree with anybody, you know what I mean? They're so cordial that it's like they won't question somebody's thinking on something. I'm not that. You know that I'm not. And,
yeah, but you're
they're not either. Yeah. But let me ask you: did I sell you on their show at all?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to check it out, but like you said, it's so hard to keep up on any pods. Like, how many eps are there to this pod?
Well, they've done, Horror Movie Weekly does one a week, as you can tell by the title.
Oh, no.
And they have been doing it a little over a year, I think, so they have at least 50-some episodes.
Oh, so like us, kind of.
Yeah, because we're a fairly newer show, too.
Yeah.
But, the thing that you'll probably appreciate, which is so not what I do on 22 Shots, is their shows are short. They're usually an hour to an hour and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can blast through them. Like, I listened to like 6 yesterday.
Yeah, I do like that. Like, I like 22 Shots format and stuff like that, but it's nice when, if I'm trying to binge a show, I can just get through it really quick.
Yeah,
it's like
so
an hour and a half.
Right now, they're at 65 episodes.
Oh! Okay.
The latest one they did was Ma, which you love.
I do, yes.
Yeah. So just to list off like their last couple: Ma, Yummy, which is 2020, Under the Skin, Pet Cemetery 2019, Hellfest, Beelzebub,
I like that.
and Jigsaw.
Cool.
And Open 24 Hours, which we covered on here. Actually, a few of the films we've covered on here, they covered. Blackwater
Nobody.
Abyss.
Buddy, we covered 12-hour shift.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You said open 24 hours.
Oh, okay, sorry. Becky, which we've covered.
Yes.
The Furies, which we covered on Netflix and Chill, I believe.
Yes.
The Boy 2, which we've covered. Which they really liked that movie, which I was
Really?
shocked on. Yeah, I never know what the hell they're gonna like, dude. Like, Jay's usually pretty predictable, and I usually line up with Jay most, but sometimes he gets it wrong too. He's off base with some things. Like, he was complaining about something the other day. Oh, it was Knock Knock. They were talking about Knock Knock, and he was complaining a little bit about Keanu Reeves and how, you know, he was not, you know, a little not to, you know, he was a little to blame for what happened and stuff like that too. I don't think I had it. I forget what the issue I had with what he was saying was, but I could explain it away, whatever it was. But anyway, that goes besides the point. Usually I agree with Jay. Bill Chete, I usually don't agree with ever, but I've noticed in this podcast, I've agreed with him a lot more than I ever have. And Lady Phantom is hit and miss. Like, she's sort of in the middle. Sometimes I agree with her, sometimes I don't. And she cracks me up too, because some of the stuff, like, if she really likes a movie, she can explain away any problem that the movie has. Like, even stuff that you're like, oh, clearly she would think that they're right about this, and she just explains it away. So she really sticks to her guns. Really funny. Yeah, okay, so, I mean, sorry for giving a huge review of their show, but I that's what I've been doing this week. I've been listening to, I probably listened to 25 episodes of between those two shows this week.
Cool. Very cool. And yeah, I mean, I've been listening to podcasts more as well. I've been kind of listening to them at work more often than not again, and kind of just, what I like to do is I'll have 3 shows, and I shall, like, rotate between those 3 if I'm trying to binge a show. So, I've been going through Banana Laser, which is Dave Z's and Matt Wessel's old show.
I think it's Wesell.
It's Wessel, and that became a joke.
No, buddy, it's Wesell.
No, the Wesell is like, it's a joke because they were all stupid and thought his name was Wesell. But it's really boring.
I think it's Wesell, because I said when I had him on the show, on the trivia thing that I never put out, I called him Matt Wesell.
Well, yeah, everyone calls him that. He's not going to correct you.
I think you're wrong, but okay.
No, I'm not wrong! Dude, okay, Dave, everyone listens to this. If I'm wrong, then I feel stupid and I shall delete this whole episode. If I'm not, you are stupid and we shall keep the episode up. Anyway, no, but I've been listening to their show, and it's only about 50-some eps, I think, is all they ran, and I'm already up to the 30s, so that's cool. And I've been going through Cut to the Chase as well, which I'm almost caught up with. I think that show just keeps on getting better. Dan and Lacey are really entertaining, and they always have entertaining guests on. I believe you were supposed to do an ep with them, but did not.
Well, it wasn't my fault. They canceled on me like 3 times.
Oh, they canceled on you? I thought that was your fault.
No, I was supposed to do Leprechaun Returns, which is funny enough because I just mentioned that, which I love. Yeah. I do love Leprechaun Returns. It's really fun. And Bill Chete was right. Leprechaun 3 is the best one. I can't believe you like those, though, because it just didn't seem like you would. But, yeah, I love Leprechaun.
Yeah, those Leprechaun episodes were fun, though, that they did on Cut to the Chase. But, yeah, so I've been listening to that, and then
Have you been listening to 22 Shots?
Yes, I was going to say, I listen to your show whenever it drops, but it's like, you know, it doesn't drop all the time, so it's like I have time to listen to those other shows, and then I spent 3 years listening to your show, and then I listen to Exploding Heads as well, and those are kind of like the 4 that I keep going back like I rotate pretty much right now. And then when I finish Banana Laser, for example, I shall delete that and then find another show. So maybe.
Well, I just gave you one.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yes.
Yes, Horror Movie Weekly. Check it out.
I will.
I think you'll really like it. It's a lot of fun.
All right, I shall.
Okay. Anything else that you did this week?
Not really. I mean, I went bowling with my friend Kaylee again. We went cosmic bowling. Bowling's fun, but then when you get because we do unlimited, and by the time you're on the 5th game, it's just like, I don't feel like doing this anymore. But when I get strikes, I am happy. What? What's funny? I got 3 strikes in a row, dude.
Okay, congratulations. You're a badass.
I know. I don't get what you're laughing at. But anyway, that's what I pretty much did. I did that on Saturday, and that's basically it. I've been kind of just watching movies and building a puzzle, which you keep hating on me for because you feel that it should be done in one day. And that's not how puzzles work, buddy. They take time. But it's a pretty cool looking puzzle that I'm concerned doesn't fit on the table that I'm building it on. But anyway, so I've been doing that, and that has been my life.
Okay, so with that said, let's get into some what we watched, and I believe it is my turn to go first. So what is the last film that I reviewed last week, since I never remember?
Yeah, you're dumb. You reviewed 11, 22, 63, and Jason X last.
Okay. So, kind of a short week here. I didn't really watch a ton. Stupid Xbox has been taking up my time.
Right.
So, we did the Italian Horror Month, week 3, over on 22 Shots, which that episode should be out. It's out on Patreon now, and it'll be out for the public tomorrow or Friday, I think.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. The director for week 3 was Alberto Di Martino. We did a triple feature of 70s horror films. The first one was The Killer is on the Phone, which is from 1975, and I can tell you right up front, or no, it's not from 75. I wrote 75, but I don't know when it's from. I must have made a typo on that, because that's the first movie we did, but the second movie is from 74, so it couldn't be right. Oh, it's 72.
72!
Yeah, 72. We didn't watch this one when we were prepping for 72.
Apparently I did not watch a lot of 72 movies.
Right. The Killer is on the Phone. Well, this one was kind of hard to find, too. And it's not really, really a horror film. It's sort of more of a mystery with some horror elements.
Mm-hmm.
But we have, basically, a woman has amnesia. She can't remember that her husband was killed. And she slowly starts regaining her memory. She finds out that her husband was killed by a hitman, and now that hitman's after her. And I thought it was a complete dud. The story and plot do not make a lick of sense. It is filled with so many plot holes that I couldn't believe the guys on 22 Shots came in as high as they did. Even though they only came in at 5s, I was at a 2 out of 10.
Was the killer on the phone a lot?
One time he was on the phone. He called one time. He didn't even say anything.
Wow, buddy.
Yep. The second film was The Antichrist from 1974. What do you think this movie is?
From my experience, I believe this is much of an Exorcist ripoff.
Did you see my review?
No. I just intelligent.
Yeah, it is a Exorcist ripoff with a little bit of Rosemary's Baby thrown in for to spice things up a little bit. And honestly, it's a pretty good Exorcist ripoff. I actually really enjoyed this movie. It's Italian, obviously for Italian Horror Month, directed by Alberto Di Martino, and it's pretty good. And it takes a little while to get going, but by the end, even though the end is kind of beat for beat a lot of what The Exorcist was, it's still pretty cool. And there's some good effects, and the lead really goes for it. So, honestly, pretty solid Exorcist ripoff. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Cool.
And from one ripoff to the next, from 1975, Alberto Di Martino's Holocaust 2000. And this one was sort of an Omen ripoff. And it's basically about this guy who's like a big oil tycoon and wants to build these oil things out in like the desert or whatever. And they believe that they find some like hieroglyphics and stuff that prophesizes the end of the world and the Antichrist and stuff. And then, yeah, kind of like an Omen ripoff. It was also pretty good. I gave that one a 6.5 out of 10. And that was it for Alberto Di Martino. So then we have Extracurricular, which was a 2018 movie but got a wide release in 2020. I got this one as a Patreon review from a listener on 22 Shots, and I kind of, looking at the cover, I kind of thought it was going to be garbage, but I actually really liked this movie. I thought it was super good. Basically about these 4 high schoolers who are killers. Think of like Tragedy Girls, but with no comedy or like social media shtick.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, and it actually got pretty violent in the end, and a little like mean-spirited. Or I didn't really think it was going to go that way. They play it pretty straight-faced, and I really enjoyed that one. I almost wish I would have watched. I almost want to watch it again, because you ever start a movie and you're just like, you're being a hater and you think you're not going to like it. And this was a title that I had to watch. And also, I didn't know it was a 2020 movie, or else I would have been more interested in seeing it. Mm-hmm. And, okay, we watch a ton of movies for the prep, top 10 at the end of the year, right? So, right. Usually I hit around 75, somewhere around there. I've watched more, I've watched less, but usually around 75. So, whenever a new year comes, like in 2021, I'm not going to be interested in 2020 movies at all. Mm-hmm. And not even 2019 movies, because the way that I look at it is, if the movies were good and I never heard of them, I would have heard of them. So if a movie came out in 2019 that's good and I didn't hear of it, then I would be surprised usually, because I've watched so many that I feel like I've watched most of the good ones, and then if I didn't watch all the good ones, I'd at least heard of the good ones. So when I saw 2018 on a movie called Extracurricular, never heard of it, and I didn't see it before, even though I watched 75 movies from 2018, I just figured, okay, this one's going to be not good. But the reason I didn't hear of it or see it is because it wasn't out yet. It didn't come out until 2020. So if I would have known that going in, I might have been a little bit more interested in checking it out. But I was kind of being a hater, and the cover didn't do anything for me, and it started, and I wasn't focusing 100% on the movie. So I may have missed some of the early dialogue, maybe like the first 10 minutes or so. But I really got into it after that. Mm-hmm. So I gave that one an 8 out of 10.
I shall check it out.
And then I watched Jolly Roger Massacre at Cutter's Cove from 2005. And this was another Patreon watch that I got from Derek, actually. And this is a Survive 05. Listeners who might be new, of course, Survive 05 is prep for our 2005 Top 10 show. So we just mentioned that we do a top 10 of the end of the year, 2020. We also do 1 or 2 retro years every year. So last time it was 1991, which that show on 22 Shots is out, top 10 of 1991. And next is 05, which we picked them at random, so we drew 05. Mm-hmm. Which I've slowly been dipping into 05. This is only my 7th watch. And yeah, this one is about these young adults who open like a treasure chest and release a pirate killer slasher. So yeah, he's walking around slashing people and stuff like that. It's kind of stupid. From the same director who directed Mosquito, which I love, from 1994. Mm-hmm. It's not good at all, but I didn't hate it. I gave it a 3 out of 10, but I enjoyed watching it.
Nice.
The next thing I watched was Challenger, The Final Flight from 2020. I'll be brief on this one because I told you about the whole damn thing on the ride home today.
Right. Yes.
It's a mini-series on Netflix about the Challenger space shuttle disaster where 7 people died. Pretty tragic. Probably the thing that hits you the most that they focus on a lot was the teacher who was part of the mission. And that, tugs at the heartstrings a lot. And then I'd say the other big takeaway was how avoidable this disaster was. Like, the way the Netflix doc shows it is it's pretty clearly a complete lack of competence on NASA's part that caused this, which is unfortunate. I didn't think the documentary was overly that good. I didn't feel like it needed to be 4 hours long. So I just gave it a 7 out of 10. But Netflix usually kills it with these. This one was just okay for Netflix standards. And then the last movie I watched was Severed from 05, which is part of the Survive 05, number 8. Forest of the Dead, which basically follows a couple of loggers and a couple of protesters who are trying to stop these loggers. And the people who own the logging companies, the father who owns it, his son goes there to figure out what's going on too. Basically, there's some tree sap that turns people into zombies, and it's a zombie movie. It was okay. It wasn't anything special. It was an indie zombie film. Didn't reinvent the wheel here with that. Just standard zombie fare. I didn't think it was overly great. Didn't think it was overly bad. Thought it was okay. I gave it a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10.
You'd be watching trash.
Well, that was a Patreon pick too.
Oh. People be giving you trash.
Yeah, they've been making me watch trash.
Yeah. So that's all your moves?
Yeah, I did start the Craft Legacy, but I have about a half hour left of it, so I won't review that this week, but I'll just mention that I did start it. And I didn't think it was as bad as people were making out to be. It's not as good as the original Craft by any means, but I was not minding it. It's kind of I can kind of see why people don't like it, because it really is like a teen girl movie.
Yeah, it looks like it.
But sometimes I have an inner teen girl in me, because I grew up watching Degrassi.
Cringe. Yeah.
So yeah. All right. You're up.
Well, it is my turn.
Oh, do you have any batteries, by the way?
What? You just asked for batteries the other day!
I know, but my controller's about to die, and I need more batteries.
Dude, you used all those batteries?
You gave me 2 batteries.
I gave you 5.
My pap must have stole them then.
Buddy, listen, I just bought myself more batteries because
so
I gave you all the batteries.
Then. You do have batteries then?
Yes, but
I'll be over right after the show for them.
You can have some of them.
I will take the whole thing, and I will be happy.
No, I won't be. What if I run out of batteries?
I will buy you more tomorrow, or not tomorrow, the next day, because everything's closed tomorrow.
I need them now.
No.
Alright, dude, you suck. Okay, so, first up, as per my Survive 05, I watched a lot of 05.
How many do you have?
What do you mean, moves I watched?
Yeah. You're taking forever.
Dude, I just started. This isn't funny anymore.
Why?
Because it's not funny.
It's a recurring joke.
It's not, but if you do it every episode, it's gets old.
How many do you have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh God! And you tell me to wait a minute. This guy tells me to watch The Move every night. I'll be building my puzzle, really calm and peaceful, listening to a podcast. And then you call me and, ruin my day by being like, what movie are you watching tonight? And I'm like, I'm not doing one tonight. I don't feel like it. And you're like, why? And I just don't feel like it. And you're like, why? But then you play video games all day, and then you steal my batteries.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, as per my Survive 05, we have 2001 Maniacs, a movie that I used to think came out in 2001 because of the title. But anyway, 2001 Maniacs with Robert Englund.
Did you think House of a Thousand Corpses came out in 1000?
No.
Dumbass.
Shut up, dude. It's not. I thought it was just a play on. Because isn't there a movie called 2000 Maniacs or something?
No, there's a film called 2001 Maniacs.
Yeah, that's this movie.
Oh, I think there's one called 2002 Maniacs.
Okay, whatever. Okay, anyway. So yeah, this movie's about, like, a group of college student friends who are
It's a remake.
This movie?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
I thought it was like, okay, okay. I see.
I think it's a remake of the Herschel Gordon Lewis film. It might be a different name. Oh, no, it is. It's called, it's from 1964, Herschel Gordon Lewis, called 2000 Maniacs.
Yeah, that's what I thought that was like a joke. I didn't think it's an actual remake.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like a play on that title. Because they were like, we're going to call it 2001 Maniacs. And I thought...
You know my favorite scene?
What?
In 2000 Maniacs? 2001 Maniacs?
What?
Is the cameo from Justin.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I'm about to say that it's funny because I saw this movie several times when I was younger, and then you used to be like, oh, Justin's in that movie, and he's in Cabin Fever also. It's so funny. It's so great. But I didn't know what you meant because it had been so long since I've seen this. So rewatching it, I was like, oh, yeah, this is that movie where Eli Roth is randomly in it for a second, and it's the same character.
Yeah, that's super cool, because he's like... Eli Roth produced this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it makes sense why he's in there, like, as a little cameo, but doesn't he, like, throw an armadillo at him or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I watched this like a week ago. He's, like, doing some weird... He just comes down the middle of the road, and then I think they're gonna, like, let him go with them, and then they're like, we were just kidding, and then they drive away, and he's like, oh, man. But, no, but anyway...
Hold up. The only thing else I remember is there was a horse that pulls off all four of the person's limbs. Does that happen in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Robert Englund, Lynn Shay's in here. Totally forgot Lynn Shay was in this.
Yes, that's what I was going to say when I originally started to talk about it.
Oh, and the sequel is named 2001 Maniacs Field of Screams, which has Bill Moseley in it.
I've never seen it.
Me neither.
Okay, so yeah, it's a fun movie. You know, it's not a great movie by any means, but I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's got some fun, cool kills in it. And Robert Englund is solid in it, and I just like the setting. It seems like very common type of thing. These types of movies where like it's a group of college kids and they get like derailed. I think they were going to like the beach or something for their friend's beach house, and then they wind up in this strange town with all these weird people, goofy like southern people, and then they think it's like all fun and games, and then those people are bad. And I think it's cool. It's a fun movie. Like I said, I used to watch this one a little bit when I was younger, probably around when it came out, and I always dug it, and it's been years since I revisited it. So yeah, I thought it was cool. I think it's like 7 out of 10 territory, so not a bad movie. Then after that, I watched White Noise as per my Survive 05. Have you seen White Noise?
I may have. See, all those weird movies that came out at that time, White Noise, The Others, like all those weird movies that all felt the same to me, Dark Water, stuff like that. I just wasn't into those movies.
Yeah, I used to like
Stir of Echoes.
That's what I was gonna say. I used to get those two confused. This one and Stir of Echoes, which that one came out in 2000. So, but yeah, White Noise. It is basically like you could lump it into all of those. I remember not really liking this one when I was younger, but watching it this time, I kind of dug it. It has Michael Keaton in it, which I've come to be a fan of him. I think I like him in pretty much every movie that I've seen him in. He's a cool, interesting dude. So,
Batman.
But it's about him and his wife disappears and then turns up dead, and you know, he's really grief-stricken. He has a son that he has to take care of and everything, and he runs into this guy one day who's like, oh, I can hear your wife talks to me, and, you know, at first Michael Keaton's all pissed about it, and then he sees signs and starts believing it, so he goes to the guy's house and basically starts trying to contact the dead through, like, these TV things and audio, and it's essentially white noise, so this time I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. It had some creepy moments to it, and it just kind of felt nostalgic, honestly, even though I didn't really like it back then. But watching it, it's like there's certain aspects I remember, and I definitely had a better time with it this time around. So I actually gave this like an 8 out of 10, I think. It was kind of high up for me. So that is White Noise. And then, as per my Survive 05, I watched Tamara. This was a first-time watch for me.
Tamara.
And it's Tamara. It's stupid. Like, don't make names that like can be spelled the same way but be pronounced different. It's stupid. Because I think of Tamara Mowry when I think of this name.
Yeah, but what about, dude? You're the one to talk. Your name's Carly.
There's no other way to say Carly. It's just Carly.
C-A-R-L-E-E.
Carly.
C-A-R-L-I.
Just Carly.
Yeah, but you spell it 4 different ways.
I'm saying that it's annoying because this name is spelled like the way it's spelled, but there's different ways. You just like put more emphasis on different letters, and it's like, oh, it's a whole different name. Wow. You understand?
No, I think you're wrong.
Alright, I'm glad you understand. Anyway, this is a movie I wanted to check out for a while, to be honest, because I always knew it was kind of like about an awkward girl who has stuff done to her and then like kind of gets revenge, and it always to me sounded like May or any of those movies I was into, like Carrie, Excision, that type of stuff. So didn't know it was 2005. That finally gave me a reason to watch it, and I really dug it. You know, it's about a shy, awkward girl who kind of gets picked on in school, and she's really into witchcraft type stuff. One day she gets invited out with some of the cool kids at the school, and it turns out to be for this really mean prank. Oh wait, no, she doesn't get invited out. She's like, the whole thing is kind of just like this set-up prank thing, and all the kids are watching her. And then one thing leads to another, and there's an accident, and it kind of does some I Know What You Did Last Summer type stuff for a minute. And then the witchcraft stuff starts to take place.
Is it like a Carrie ripoff? I've seen it before, but it's... What year did that come out? 2005?
Yes,
I've probably seen it in like 2007 or 8.
Yeah, it kind of is a Carrie ripoff, honestly. There's like at the beginning, there's a lot of stuff that feels similar to Carrie, where, you know, she just kind of is a nobody, has no friends, and wants to fit in really bad, and that type of stuff. So, yeah, but I dug this movie. It was pretty cool. The whole concept is, you know, she kind of comes back and she's different. Kind of reminds me of like almost like Ginger Snaps in a way, where like the character like transforms and it's like not really the same girl anymore, and everyone knows something's up.
Does she have like all kind of swagger now, where she's like kind of
she's like really hot.
Yeah, that's why you're getting the Ginger Snaps vibe, because I remember feeling that way too.
Yeah, it's definitely like that, because the whole school's like, what the heck is up with this girl now? She's like noticeable. But yeah, I really like this movie. I gave this like an 8 out of 10 as well. So
really, wow. I was thinking it was more like a 6 or something, but that gives me some hope.
Dude, I like 05. I'm sure everyone else who's like involved with this is like hating and pretending these are all 6s, but I actually really like. Maybe I just have nostalgia for the time period or something, but I don't know.
I mean, I do too, honestly. I have nostalgia, because that's really when. How old was I in 05? Like 14 or something.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, this was when I was, like, coming into my own and stuff, starting forming my own opinions and things.
Right, coming into people twisted.
Shut up. How many 05s have you watched?
I think 25.
What?
Yeah, I'm on it, dude. It's easy. It's just easy watching. It's not like 72 where I get bored after 2 minutes and look at my phone.
Dude, I only watched, like, 8.
Like, I'm having fun while you're over there watching Severed of the Dead. Like, I'm watching, like, not the... See, I keep going back and forth with ones that I've watched before and then ones like Tamara that I've never watched.
Did you get to Wolf Creek yet?
No, I own that one. I haven't seen that since... I've only seen that movie once, and it was like when I first started collecting, like 5 years ago, so I'm curious to watch that one again.
Did you think it was great back then?
Yeah, I remember thinking it was really good, so that's one that I'm looking forward to seeing once again.
Yeah, that one I would be surprised if it didn't make a couple lists.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Then after that, as per my Survive 05, I watched Hide and Seek with Robert De Niro, Dakota Fanning, Amy Irving, and Elizabeth Shue, I believe her name is. Have you ever seen this move?
No, but that was another one that I was thinking of, like White Noise.
Oh, no, this one's
one of
more
the ones I
psychological.
couldn't come up with a title for. I was thinking of it, though.
Yeah, this one's more of a psychological movie. It's not, like, all ghostly like those other ones are, but...
there's something about just the vibe of, like, those kind of movies that came out in that year. Like, I don't know. They just, ugh.
I see. I do see, honestly. I know what you mean. But, no, Hide and Seek's a good move, in my opinion. It's, Robert De Niro. He, him and his wife, they have this daughter. The daughter and the wife, you see, have a good relationship at the beginning, but then, the mom ends up passing away in a tragic type of way, and the daughter's really kind of screwed up by it, and Robert De Niro's like, I'm going to take her up to, the woods and just get her out of the city and try to help her get through this, because he's actually a psychologist, so, he thinks he can, like, help her out, but, so he brings her up there, and they kind of have this strange relationship. It's kind of, like, awkward, almost. It's like the mom's gone, and he's trying to compensate and like do stuff that the mom did and what having it, and then one day she says she has this imaginary friend named Charlie, and she starts being like happier and being a little more open and stuff, but then you see it's something sinister. But it's a good movie. There's like a twist type of ending. My only thing is I feel like it doesn't really all make sense necessarily when the twist happens. It kind of just doesn't feel super clever in the way it's done, because it doesn't feel like it could have been realistic throughout the movie, but other than that, I've always really dug Hide and Seek. This is another one I grew up watching, and I always thought it was kind of creepy, so I always thought it to be more of a thriller, but it definitely is horror. So then after that, I watched as per my, oh my god, I have to watch all these 2020 movies, oh god, I'm scared. I watched His House on Netflix, because I saw people talking about it, and this one is essentially about these two refugees who are, in this, what do you call it, refugee place. They, like, survived, they,
like a camp?
Yeah, a camp. They survived, like, they were on a boat, you see at the beginning, and they're now being held at this camp, and the people running it
they go to his house.
Yes. The people running it, they say, hey, guess what? Your good news is you're allowed to leave and go to his house. But there are stipulations. You'll have this house to live in for a while. You're not considered citizens. This is in London, by the way. They traveled to London, and they're trying to fit in there. And the people are like, you're not qualified as citizens yet. You just kind of have to, basically live in this house for a while. Not, like, destroy the house or anything. Don't have any friends over or, throw any wild parties or, there's just all these rules to it. And they're, like, really grateful and saying they're good people and whatnot. Then they go to the house and some spooky stuff starts to happen. I dug this movie quite a bit too. I thought it had some creepy moments, some unnerving parts to it, and there were some moments where I kind of felt like I got a little bit confused maybe on what was going on, but there's also some moments that are kind of sad, and you really feel for this couple throughout it, and that's kind of the big thing is
What
are
the
like.
hell is the subgenre? Nothing about that sounded horror.
No, what it is horror. It's like I said spooky stuff out. Like the house
It's
that
like
they're in.
it's a haunted house movie.
Like yeah, a little bit. It's like psychological / like haunted, I would say.
Okay.
Kind of like a mix in between. But yeah, it's almost metaphorical. I like this. I think it's good. I would recommend it to people. I gave that an 8 out of 10. Then after that, I watched Leap of Faith, William Friedkin on The Exorcist from 2019, which just came out on Shudder 2020. And this is a documentary that is all just Will Friedkin talking about The Exorcist and what inspired him to make it, like all the movies that he saw growing up that just inspired him to become a filmmaker in general, and then to
what
create...
were the movies?
Don't ask me that question, buddy. They're like old movies. I'm trying to think of what there was one in particular that he said really inspired him, but I can't remember what it was, and now I feel dumb, and you have called me out, and I am stupid. But he does bring up other things throughout it, like Psycho and, what else? A lot of the movies aren't ones that I've seen. They're not, like, necessarily all horror movies, is the thing. They're just, like, old movies from the 40s and stuff like that he's like, yeah, I saw this in the theater, and just the style of filmmaking really drew me in, and, that type of stuff. So they're not really things that I had heard about or anything like that. What is it? Citizen Kane was one that he kept going on about.
That's like an all-time classic.
Yeah, that's one that he was kind of putting heavy emphasis on. But I forget what the main one was that he said like really inspired him. It was something to do with like possession, I think, back in the day. But anyway, yeah, it's a weird documentary because it's just all him. You know, it's not like other cast members talking about the movie. It's just literally about him and what led to him making the film and what all had to go together to make the film. And he's kind of talking about the other cast members and whatnot and the different places they filmed, like, you know, the whole archaeological dig at the beginning. He just really wanted to do that, and then he said, like, there's a lot of moments where he'll zoom in on things and like just stuff that looks like it would be symbolic, but he says he swears like none of it was meant to mean anything. He just kind of thought it looked cool, and he's like, all these people interpret it different throughout the years, so it's really interesting. I dug it. You know, it maybe gets a little bit, you kind of get a little sick of it because it's like an hour and 40 minutes, I think, and it's just him kind of talking, so there are parts where I got a little disinterested, but other than that, I thought it was very intriguing, so I gave that like a 7.5 out of 10. And then lastly, as per my Survive 05, once again, I watched Feast. Just watched this last night. Popped it on while I was doing my puzzle, not gonna lie. I feel like I just watched this recently, like last year, so it's kind of fresh in my memory anyway, but I liked Feast. It's a fun little creature feature type of movie where they're all stuck in this bar and, you know, all of a sudden some dude shows up and he's like, I'm the one who's gonna save your ass, and then he does not. And you have all these different characters that they introduce.
Yeah, it's funny because they're doing like a meta thing where they're introducing the different archetypes, and but they're going against the norm, which is really fun. Yeah, Feast. You know how that movie's background, right?
I don't remember, honestly.
It was part of Project Greenlight. Do you remember that?
No.
Project Greenlight was like a reality TV show where it was like a competition where people, you know, made movies and tried to get their film off the ground, and whoever won was supposed to get a wide release from the Weinsteins, and that's the people who won was Feast.
Nice.
Well, and it ended up not getting a wide release. They kind of lied about that, but
really?
It was part of Project Greenlight. It was probably the most successful thing to come off, because I think they did like 3 or 4 seasons, but that's like the only one that was like known.
Mm. Yeah, well, it's a good move. I have that in a 3-pack with the other Feast movies, which I've only seen those 2 once, and I don't really care to ever watch again. But
yeah,
I do like.
They're a lot different than the first one.
Yeah. I gave it like a 7.5 out of 10. So, Feast.
Yeah, I like Feast a lot. I actually think that has a chance to make my list.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I mean, it's good. There's a lot of just interesting characters in it, and a lot of kind of shocking moments in it, and gross out stuff like that dude that's like just rotting away throughout the movie. That's disgusting.
Yeah, and that one monster like rapes that girl's face.
Yeah, face rape. But that is all of what I watched, and I guess I shall talk about my blind spot, as it was my turn this week. And the blind spot that I got was Clerks from 1994.
Oh, what a coincidence. You know Jay from Jay and Silent Bob is in Feast.
Was he?
Yeah. He has short hair, I think. The blonde, short-haired dude.
Oh, no, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Well, that was... I see. Well, it was also a weird coincidence because, well, I guess it makes sense. Like, the trailer before Feast came on, there was a trailer for Clerks 2 on it. And I'd always seen that trailer. And then I was like, oh, now I finally get it. Because it's like, the trailer's pretty much just Jay and Silent Bob standing there. And, like, Jay's doing weird stuff. And Bob's in the background, like, smoking a cigar or something. And then, like... Oh, you know what I mean? Like in Clerks 2 when the trailer's like he opens up the garage or the storefront and it's like all on fire.
Maybe he isn't in that movie.
Why are you looking it up?
Yeah, I don't see him here.
Oh, well, they played a trailer for Clerks 2 on...
Oh, yeah, no, he is in here. He plays Edgy Cat / himself. Edgy Cat.
I see.
Oh, I think, you know what? I think he's one of the people that dies right at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even, like, know to pick up on that. But, anyway, yeah, my blind spot this week is the comedy Clerks from 1994 by old Kevin Smith. And this movie is in black and white. And essentially, there's not much to the plot, really. It's just a day in the lives of these clerks. You know, one runs, like, this convenience store, and then you got this other dude who runs the movie store, and it's just kind of going through their life, and a typical day for them. You know, you just have scenes of them hanging out. You have scenes of the one dude getting harassed by this guy who's trying to make people not buy cigarettes, and then there's a whole part where they play hockey on the roof. There's parts where the girlfriend's like involved, and then you also are seeing the guy who runs the videotape store. You know, you get some moments with him as well. So whole movie, and then it all kind of comes together. But that's pretty much the whole movie. You know, it's just a day in the life. And at first, I thought I was going to hate this move. But then I enjoyed it.
I'm actually surprised you liked it as much as you did.
Yeah, it was actually pretty funny. Because I just didn't think, like, when it starts out, I'm just like, oh god, like, this isn't gonna appeal to me at all. But then I was laughing out loud in a few parts. I mean, there's some good stuff. Like, the guy who's, like, saying, like, every single person who goes in there, first of all, they're all like, can I get a pack of cigarettes, which I find funny, because they're not asking for a brand or anything, just everyone's like, can I get a pack of cigarettes? And that's it. And then the dude's all like, he's like, hey, stop spending money on cigarettes. And then before you know it, he has like this mob around him, like, or, you know, this group of people listening to him, and he's like, you wouldn't pay someone to kill you. And then you have all these background noises like, right, yeah, right. And it's like real funny. And there's just a lot of funny stuff. Then there's a part where, the one dude's like talking to his girlfriend who he asks how many guys she slept with, and it's like 3, and then it turns out she sucked 37 dicks though, and that doesn't count, and that was funny. And then she's mad at him because he slept with all these girls. It reminds me of my buddy because she keeps calling him a pig. And you're a pig.
Yeah.
So that part really reminded me of you.
They call me J-Pig. They don't call me J-Pig for nothing.
Right. But yeah, there's not much to it, but it's funny.
Well, it's one of those films that, like, there was sort of a movement of films that came out in the early 90s, which Clerks, came out in 94. You figure Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction are on the horizon, and I think Pulp Fiction, when did that come out? 95, 6, 4. Oh, Pulp Fiction, it just came out. And Reservoir Dogs came out in 1990? 92. So it was really a change in movies and, like, the way movies were done, like, independently. Very dialogue-heavy film.
Yeah.
Like, what is Clerks? A bunch of guys talking for an hour and a half.
Yeah, it literally is. They're talking about their future and just all kinds of random stuff that seems realistic.
And Kevin Smith is really good at writing dialogue. I do think he pushes it sometimes and goes a little over the top, and it gets too comedic sometimes. But, like, when he's on, he's, like, really on with his writing. And, you know, Tarantino and Kevin Smith are two people that, although very different in terms of films and film quality, I've always kind of felt similar feelings when watching their movies, and it's like about the dialogue. Like, the dialogue draws me in. And yeah, pretty cool story how Kevin Smith made that movie. I told you about it before, where he basically just he was in film school. I think he left and he had a little bit of money left over, and he put that into a film and just maxed out a bunch of credit cards. He just kept applying for credit cards, and he worked at a video store, and then they would call his boss for a reference, and they're like, does Kevin Smith really make $100,000 a year at a video store? And he would just pretend to be his boss, and he's like, yep. So they kept sending him these credit cards. He just made the movie, which is a huge gamble.
Yeah. He could have ruined his entire life.
Yep, but he is a pretty big success. I mean, his podcast is one of the biggest podcasts out there.
Yes, of course.
And, you know, he's made a lot of movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, let me look at his filmography real quick. So Kevin Smith, he's made, in terms of directing, he has 30 credits. Now, some of them are TV and stuff, but, okay, so he started off with Clerks, and then Mallrats. Have you seen Mallrats?
No.
It's like another Clerks, but in a mall, pretty much. Jay and Silent Bob are in that one, too. Chasing Amy, which I've never seen. Dogma, which is ridiculous and funny. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Jersey Girl. Clerks 2. Zack and Mary Make a Porno, which is probably one of my favorites. Have you seen that one?
No.
That one was filmed around here, buddy.
Really?
Yep, in Monroeville.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep, pretty
Nice.
sure. And that one is Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks. And it's actually a pretty funny concept. Basically, two best friends decide to, like, they're kind of not able to meet ends meet anymore. So they're like, what if we made a porno? Like, and they're like, well, think about it. If somebody in your high school made a porno, wouldn't you buy it? And so they start making this porno, and they kind of fall in love type thing.
Ooh, cheesy.
Yeah, it's pretty good though, and it's filmed around Pittsburgh, Monroeville area. And then he made Cop Out. Then he made Red State, which is my favorite Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah?
Yep, it's a horror film.
I've never seen any of these.
And then Tusk, which is pretty fun. I really enjoyed Tusk, which is part of the Great White North, or the Great North, is it White North? Great White North trilogy, which is supposed to be 3 films. The second of that trilogy is Yoga Hosers, which was okay. It stars his daughter and Johnny Depp's daughter. He named his daughter Harley Quinn.
What?
Yeah, his daughter's name is Harley Quinn.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but it was, like, before, like, obviously she's, like, 20. So it was like before
Right, yeah.
everybody loved Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and it became annoying.
Yeah, and Johnny Depp's daughter is, what is her name? Something, Jamie Depp or something?
I have no idea.
Lily Rose Depp.
Oh.
Yeah, and they're pretty good together. They're fun. They're pretty good friends, I hear, in real life. But anyway, and then after that, recently he did he did the holidays segment. He did the Halloween one from Holidays. And then the most recent film came out last year. It was Jane Silent Bob Reboot, which I haven't seen. But I hear he's working on a couple of films, one being the third film to the Great White North trilogy, which is Moose Jaws, which is basically Jaws but with a moose.
Oh.
And I think he's doing another horror film too, and then he's doing Clerks 3. So quite a career from Kevin Smith. I think he's retired like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a heart attack a while back and almost died, and then he lost a ton of weight afterwards. Like he went vegan and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
he's not that old.
No, but he was really fat.
Yeah.
He was born in 1970.
Watching this move, it's weird because they keep saying like, yeah, 22, like we're 22, and I'm thinking like, there's no way these guys are 22, and then I looked it up and I was like, that would have been their age then, and that made me feel old because I'm 23.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
All right, so that's it for you. We only have a couple. 8 out of 10, by the way. Oh, 8 out of 10. Pretty good rating. I haven't watched that in years, but I wanted to pick up all the Kevin Smith films on Blu-ray eventually, but I just never got around to it. Probably one of my more favorite non-horror directors, even though he's kind of dabbling in horror again. Now, and then like obviously Quentin Tarantino is my favorite non-horror director. But anyway, what do we have here?
Guess we should get into your blind spot.
Yes, my blind spot. We only have a few of these left. We may actually stop. Like, we're not going to get to all 14. I think we have like 7 shows left. How many do you have left, and how many do I have left?
Let me see. 2, 3, 4. 4. I have 4. And you have 1.
5, I think.
Yeah, you would have like 1 more.
So we have 7 shows left. So that should be around. After I do this one, then it would be 3 more each. So, oh wait, we should hit it then, right? Because we put 1 extra in.
Oh, yeah.
For fun. So yeah, I think we may finish just right with 1 left over. So my blind spot, we did this actually off air because I needed extra time.
Oh, I thought we were going to be fake and pretend to do it.
No. And it came up E.T., which I'm actually pretty happy about. I have not seen E.T. ever. So
yes, that's what blind spot's supposed to be.
Now, the only thing, I'm going to say this. I may not review it on this next episode. I know that I'm being a dick with keep pushing mine back and making you do yours on time. But
first of all, I just don't need time off. You don't make me do anything. Like,
here's the reason why. Because E.T. is available on 4K, and I planned on buying it whenever it came up, but unfortunately it came up here on a short week where we're recording in like 3 days. So either I push it off or I edit it in later before we release the episode. Oh. Because I want to watch it on 4K. Since it's on 4K, there's no reason really not to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to go to Walmart on Friday and see if they have it. They did before, but I don't think they do now. So if they don't, then I'll just order it on Amazon. I might push it back a week, so that I can watch it on 4K.
Good for you, buddy. Anything to fit your schedule.
Okay. So, with that said, let's get into our featured review, which is what?
The Dark and the Wicked from 2020. And The Dark and the Wicked is about: on a secluded farm in a nondescript rural town, a man is slowly dying. His family gathers to mourn, and soon a darkness grows, marked by waking nightmares and a growing sense something evil is taking over the family.
Okay, as usual, we will not be spoiling this review, so I can tell you right now this is going to be a short one because there's not a ton we could say about the movie without really just giving away what the movie is.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Brian Bertino, who you might know from a little film from 2008 called The Strangers.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that. That's kind of seems like such a different movie. I mean, they're both like kind of have that slow burn atmosphere, I guess.
I actually think this movie is more similar to The Strangers than any other film he did.
What else did he do?
So, The Strangers, pretty much almost a classic by today's standard, I would say. Like in terms of like how much people like it. I'm a big fan. I like it as well. And The Dark and the Wicked, I think, is very similar in tone to The Strangers, and I'll explain why later. But his second film ever was like 5 or 6 years after The Strangers, and it was Mockingbird. And I thought it was pretty bad.
Yeah. Wait.
There's like a clown on the cover with blue and red face paint.
No, I don't think. I think I might have like gone to watch that a few times and then just didn't. I don't think I ever saw it.
I think I gave it like a 5 out of 10 or something. It had moments, but I think it might be a found footage film.
Okay.
That one wasn't too good. And then 2016, a little bit of an honorable mention in my 2016 list was The Monster, which was about the mother-daughter who crashed their car and there's like a monster outside. But I think the mother is like a former addict.
Okay.
That one was really decent.
Nice.
And then The Dark and the Wicked. So he's directed 4 films. I think The Strangers is his best, and I think The Dark and the Wicked is his second best, followed by The Monster.
Yeah, I gotta say, this was a pretty good film. As I mentioned, it is a slow burn, very slow burn, but it has such a sense of, like, just dread and eeriness. Dread. This movie is covered. It's filthy with dread. I don't know. A lot of it is just how it's shot and the score. Like, these slow, looming shots of just dread. Like, I almost feel like I need to rewatch it to appreciate the shots so I can call them out. Because, like, you know, I don't take notes, which is... It's bad and good for me. It's bad because I can't remember specifics ever, but it's good because I'm always invested in the movie, which is what's most important to me. That's why I can't take notes. But like just as it's shot, just like a lot of low angles. There's a lot of like far away angles. There's a lot of like just like creepy angles. Like just it just, I don't know, like even I guess the color correction and stuff, everything seems washed out and pale. There's even no like color in the movie. Yeah, even like the dialogue between, like, you know, you have a brother and sister, that's kind of the primary characters in it. They're very, like, they seem very real to life. They say stuff like nuttin' and like, you know, abbreviate words, and they just seem very depressing, especially the sister, and that just kind of adds to like the dread for me, is like how sort of gloomy they are as characters. And then you have this very like ominous type of score and stuff kind of going on throughout the film as well that's works really good for it. And there's actual scares in the movie too, you know, it's not just like pure slow burn and it's all in your head. There's actually a few creepy moments. There was one that I actually jumped at, and then there's one that was just really sort of unsettling for me to look at that I appreciated. So I definitely think this is a good move.
Yeah, no, me too. I think that the performances are good. It's scored very well. I actually really like the slow burn pace in this one because it makes you have time to fear. And the key with slow burn is you can't just be slow, right? That burn part matters because some things are just slow. I always picture like a rope or a wick, right? Like a candle wick.
I was just gonna say that.
And whenever you light it, and it's just burning slowly. But like if you don't light it, then it's just there and it's just going slow. There has to be a flame on it. Like you have to feel like it's burning to something.
Mhm.
You know,
and I will.
Go ahead.
I will say, like when I first started watching this, I was like, oh, this movie. You could tell right away it's gonna be super slow. So I was like, I hope I can like get into this. But then, like I actually paused it a few times and like went back, and then I was like, just because I was just super into it, and I didn't want to miss a moment of it. So it does really captivate you and pull you into the story, and just you're along for the dreadful ride that it is. Just a very depressing type of film.
Well, like one scene in particular, and it happens early on, that I saw and I was like, why did this affect me so much? It's the scene with the carrots.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've seen that particular thing happen in horror films. Not exactly that way, but the outcome of what is happening. Probably 100 times over the years, dealing with that particular injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that so many times, yet for some reason that one really got under my skin.
I think it's because it did to me too. Actually, I think I watched this like a week or so ago at this point, but I think you and I were on the phone, and then that part happened, and then in my head I was like, I gotta rewind this shit. So that was one of the parts where I rewound, and I think the reason it's disturbing is because it keeps going on. It's not just like a quick thing. Like there's more to it, and it's very kind of graphic in the way it shows it. So I was really bothered by that as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's. Whew, boy, I don't know. It's kind of an intense movie. Definitely one of my favorite watches of the year so far. This is the type of movies that I'm looking forward to. You know, the ones that kind of come out of nowhere. I didn't ever hear anything about this movie beforehand until people started watching it and stuff like that. And I don't know, man. I think that this movie has this creepy, dready feeling that I dig in horror. And scary too. There's some really scary scenes in this movie.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, there's a lot of like, in terms of the more headier stuff, you have like this suppression of grief and guilt and stuff like that that's involved here. The jump scares are good because like a lot of the jump scares are not that traditional, like, you know, staring at something and then you know, pops out at you and things, loud noise and stuff. They're more like you just see something scary as hell, you know.
Yeah, those are my favorite types because those are the ones that like give me a mini heart attack, and I just wasn't prepared. Because as you know, I like to cover my eyes while watching movies.
Yeah,
but I can't if I don't know it's coming.
Now, you know, there is the only problem that I really have with this movie is there's some iffy CGI in it.
I would agree. That's kind of like, I wish it was just a little bit less because it took me out of the realisticness of it, and it took me out of the scare factor to it. I was like, yeah, you have to have scares in it, but you could have, I don't know, used makeup or, I don't know, there's just a lot of, I didn't think it was necessary kind of for this type of film.
Yeah, and another thing that I'll say is that something I like about some horror movies is when they use very, very dark blood, almost black. Like, the blood in this film is almost freaking black in scenes. And I've always liked that kind of blood. So, yeah, I don't know. You want to get into ratings or Letterboxd reviews? Because I don't really want to give away much about this movie. Just check it out if you haven't seen it. I think it's one of the better horror films of the year.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a contender for the top 10. So, yeah, I'll get into some Letterboxd reviews. A lot of mixed opinions on this movie, and I guess it makes sense because slow burns, I feel like a lot of people just don't like them, and that's all there is to it. But I'll read a positive 4-star review by Adam, and Adam's favorite moves are, his favorite films say 12-Hour Shift, which just came out, Scare Me, Spontaneous, which looks super lame, and Tales of Halloween. So, kind of
Yeah,
iffy.
you got a whack favorite films list.
Yeah. But it says, there's a distinct difference between old people are scary and growing old is scary. The dark and the wicked understands this, and that's why it works. A lot of these reveals wouldn't work as well in a lesser film, but thanks to top-notch sound design, a lot of discordant strings, wonderful cinematography, restrained and genuine performances, this is one of the year's best horror films.
Good review.
Yeah, one of the only competent reviews. And then there is a 2.5-star review by Travis Stevens, which he does say nice things about it, and then he gets into...
Yeah, well, 2.5 isn't really a negative review.
I know, but there's not really...
So, I mean that speaks to how good the film is, then, that you're having trouble finding negative reviews.
There are negative reviews, but they're not, like, good reviews. Like, some people just gave it 2 stars and said, like, 1 word, and that's it. That's the issue. Like, there are actually a few 2-star reviews on here, but, again, I think those people are idiots. Anyway, but this one's a 2.5, and it's, like, actually a review. It says, well, first, Travis Stevens, let's see. His favorite films are Rocky,
Good
the
move.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre original,
The best move.
ABCDEFG HIJK QRX TYZ Helvetica. I have no idea what that is. And what'd you say?
I said I never heard of it.
Yeah, me neither. I don't even know. I think it's just called Helvetica, but the poster has ABCDEFG. Anyway, and then The Cook, The Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. That sounds atrocious.
No, I think that's a good movie, actually.
No, buddy, it's not. Anyway, so his review is, the craftsmanship is definitely impressive. The primary location is designed and shot so beautifully, it's hard to tell if the farmhouse is a meticulously built set, a lucky location find, or a mix of both. This is the first act of The Wizard of Oz, desaturated in both color and the rural accents to convey just how worn out life in these parts is. It's a well-built movie, seamless despite the reclaimed wood and bits salvaged from other horror movies. And that's the gnawing feeling that grew stronger as the movie progressed. These well-shot and staged images, and he goes on to, like, name a bunch of aspects to the film, which I don't want to name because I don't want to give away a bunch of aspects to the film, but basically, like, a bunch of things that he finds to be, like, tropes, I guess. It felt a bit like a facade from a ride at Disneyland, where the appropriate items are meticulously placed and dressed to evoke a world, but it's a world you know is only front-facing. The sound design was active and interesting, even when low in the mix. It bubbled with information, another testament to the skill of the people involved with making it. So basically, this guy's critique was that he felt like all the disturbing imagery and stuff you get throughout the movie is stuff that you've seen before in other movies. That's his big thing. And he feels like it's, like, tapered into this movie and, like, not cohesive.
Let's see. Yeah, not really a fan of that guy.
Yeah, screw him.
So, let's... no, I'm just kidding. So, alright, let's go to our ratings. Who wants to go first?
Well, buddy, there's only 2 of us, so I guess I shall go.
Okay.
I enjoyed the film, and I recommend everyone check it out for sure for themselves. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
Awesome. Okay, I loved it, and I think that it is really good. I honestly I'm not a huge rewatcher, but I may I feel like this is going to be one of those on-the-cusp films where it might make my list, it might not make my list, depending on, how... Is it raining? Yes, it is. How am I going to get my batteries?
You're not getting your batteries.
Yes, I am.
That's not a thing we're joking about down
No,
the pod.
no,
It's
I'm
real.
coming for the batteries. In
No.
fact, how about you bring them to me?
No, you're not letting me. Stop trying to make things sound like a treat.
Anyway, sorry for the rain. It's really loud. But yeah, so it's one of those on the cusp films. It may make my list, it may not. So maybe I'm not a huge rewatcher, but maybe the second view Dave will be the key here. So I might check it out again as the time to make lists gets closer. So yeah, I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10.
That's what I gave it, buddy.
Right, yeah. Which is, by the way, that is my highest rating this year so far.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Alright, dude.
Yeah, I've been honest. I don't think this year is that good.
Wait, are you saying I haven't been honest?
Yes.
Why?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying you're not being honest. I'm just saying, like, I have a handful of 8s and 8.5s, and some of them that are 8s I might bump to an 8.5. Some 8.5s I might lower to an 8. I do that a lot because I digest things and think about things more. Maybe something goes to a 9. I don't know.
Yeah, I do these things too, buddy. I'm a very professional podcaster.
Yeah. Okay. So next week we're gonna tackle another 2020 film. We're probably gonna be. Well, shit, we've always done 2020, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, so, another brand new film here. I think it just came out last month. Holy crap, it's loud.
I was going to tell you I didn't hear it, and now I hear it.
Yeah, The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Yes.
And, dude, is it loud for you?
It is now.
I
It
think
wasn't when you
the world
mentioned
is
it.
ending.
Yeah, but it's not raining where I am, which is 8 minutes away from you.
Really?
Yeah, I don't
Holy
I don't
crap.
hear anything.
Okay, really quickly. Terror grips a small mountain town as bodies are discovered after each full moon. Losing sleep, raising a teenage daughter, and caring for his ailing father, Officer Marshall struggles to remind himself there's no such thing as werewolves. So that's what we're going to cover next week. I've heard good things about it. Looking forward to it. And again, check out those 2 shows that I mentioned, Horror Movie Weekly and Movies in 4K. I will leave links in the description. As always, check us out on all the pod places, and follow us on Letterboxd, which we are a huge fan of.
Yes, we are.
Alright, anything else?
No, I think that will do it.
Alright, we'll see you guys next week. I hope I don't die in a monsoon here until then. Peace out.
Peace.